Hello there, and a very warm welcome to English in Fluency. I am your host, Alex, and I am so happy you have decided to join me today for a session that might just change the way you think about learning English. Today we are going to talk about the secret engine behind your ability to speak. We often think that to get better at speaking, we must speak more. And while that is true to an extent, there is a deeper foundation that must be built first. That foundation is listening. But not just hearing words in the background while you do the dishes or drive your car. I am talking about active listening. This is the key that unlocks the door to true fluency. So, if you have ever felt frustrated because the words just won't come out of your mouth when you need them, or if you feel like you are translating everything in your head from your native language, this session is exactly for you. Sit back, relax, and let's begin this journey together to understand why listening is the true foundation of speaking. Imagine for a moment that you are a musician trying to play a new song on the guitar. If you have never heard the song before, if you do not know the melody, the rhythm, or the feeling of the music, it will be impossible to play it correctly. You might know where to put your fingers on the strings, and you might know the notes on the paper, but without the sound in your head, it will sound mechanical and stiff. Language is exactly the same. Speaking English is like playing music. You need to have the melody of the language inside your mind before you can perform it with your mouth. This is where many students make a mistake. They try to play the music before they have truly listened to it. They rush to speak. They memorize grammar rules, and they stress about vocabulary lists. But they forget to simply listen to the song of English. Today, we are going to fix that. We are going to focus on how active listening builds the database in your brain that allows you to speak effortlessly. Let me tell you a story about a student I once knew. Let's call him Marco. Marco was an incredibly dedicated student. He studied English for 3 years in his home country. He had a stack of grammar books on his desk that was taller than his computer. He could explain the difference between the present perfect tense and the past simple tense better than some native speakers. On paper, Marco was an advanced student. He knew thousands of words. But then, Marco moved to London for a new job. He was excited. He thought he was ready. On his first day, he went to a coffee shop to order a cappuccino. The barista, a friendly young woman, asked him a simple question about his day. Marco froze. His mind went blank. He understood the words she said, but he couldn't respond. He stuttered. He felt his face get hot, and he just pointed at the menu. Marco walked away feeling defeated. He couldn't understand why all those years of studying grammar didn't help him order a coffee comfortably. The problem Marco faced is a very common one. He had learned English with his eyes, but he hadn't learned it with his ears. He treated English like a math problem to be solved on paper, rather than a living, breathing sound to be absorbed. When you learn with your eyes, you learn rules. When you learn with your ears, you learn patterns. This is the core of what we call the natural approach, or the input hypothesis. Think about how a baby learns their first language. A baby does not study grammar books. A baby does not use flashcards. For the first year or two of their life, a baby mostly just listens. They listen to their parents, the television, the people on the street. They are absorbing the sounds, the rhythm, and the intonation. They are building a massive library of sounds in their brain. Only after they have filled that library do they start to speak. And when they do speak, it comes out naturally. They don't think about the grammar rules. They just say what feels right because they have heard it 1,000 times before. Now, you might be thinking, but Alex, I am not a baby. I am an adult, and my brain works differently now. That is true, but the mechanism for acquiring language remains very similar. Your brain is designed to recognize patterns. When you listen to English actively, you are feeding your brain the data it needs to find those patterns. Active listening is different from passive listening. Passive listening is when you have the radio on while you are cleaning the house. You hear the noise, but you aren't paying attention. This is helpful for getting used to the rhythm, but it won't make you fluent quickly. Active listening is when you give the audio your full attention. You listen not just for the meaning, but for the structure. You listen to how the words connect to each other. You listen to the emotion in the speaker's voice. Let's go back to Marco for a moment. After his bad experience in the coffee shop, Marco decided to change his strategy. He stopped spending 3 hours a night on grammar books. Instead, he started listening to podcasts and watching interviews with people he admired. But he did something special. He didn't just watch them once. He watched them 3 or 4 times. The first time, he listened just to understand the story. The second time, he listened to pick out new words. The third time, he closed his eyes and just listened to the music of the sentences. He noticed that native speakers don't talk like robots. They don't say, "I am going to the store." They say, "I'm gonna go to the store." The words blend together. The sounds change. Marco started to mimic these sounds. He wasn't just learning words, he was learning phrases and chunks of language. 6 months later, Marco went back to that same coffee shop. The barista asked him how he was doing. Without thinking, without translating in his head, Marco smiled and said, "I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?" It flowed out of him naturally. He didn't have to construct the sentence. He just retrieved it from his memory because he had heard that phrase used in that specific rhythm so many times in his listening practice. This is the power we want to unlock for you. We want you to reach a point where speaking feels like remembering a song lyric rather than solving a puzzle. So, how can you practice active listening? It starts with the material you choose. You need to find audio that is understandable but slightly challenging. If it is too easy, you will get bored. If it is too hard, you will get frustrated. You want to find something where you understand about 70 or 80% of the content. This is the sweet spot. When you understand the context, your brain can focus on learning the new pieces of language. This podcast, right now, is designed to be in that sweet spot for B1 learners. I am speaking clearly, but I am using natural expressions and sentence structures that will help you grow. Once you have your audio, the first step is to focus on intonation. Intonation is the rise and fall of the voice. It is the melody of the sentence. In English, intonation carries a lot of meaning. It tells you if someone is happy, angry, asking a question, or making a statement. It also tells you which words are important. English is a stress-timed language. This means that some syllables are longer and louder, and others are shorter and quieter. For example, in the sentence, "I bought a car," the important words are bought and car. The other words are small and quick. If you say every word with the same speed and volume, you will sound robotic. When you listen actively, try to identify which words the speaker is stressing. Try to hum the melody of the sentence without saying the words. This trains your ear to hear the rhythm, which will eventually improve your own pronunciation. Another crucial aspect of active listening is noticing collocations. Collocations are groups of words that naturally go together. For example, we say fast food, but we don't say quick food. We say make a mistake, but we don't say do a mistake. These aren't really grammar rules. They are just habits of the language. Native speakers use them instinctively. If you try to learn these by memorizing lists, it is very difficult. But if you listen actively, you will hear them over and over again. You will hear make a decision, make a promise, make a plan. Eventually, your brain will connect the word make with these nouns. When you listen, try to catch these pairs. When you hear a new word, don't just write down the word alone. Write down the whole phrase it came in. This gives you the context, and context is king. Let's try a little exercise together right now. I want you to clear your mind. I am going to say a sentence, and I want you to listen not just to the words, but to the feeling. Ready? Here is the sentence. I was wondering if you could help me with this project. Listen again. I was wondering if you could help me with this project. Notice how soft the beginning is. I was wondering. It goes up slightly. It is polite. It is gentle. Then the stress lands on help and project. Those are the key information points. A robot would say, I was wondering if you could help me. But a human flows through it. By listening to this flow, you learn how to be polite in English without studying a textbook on politeness. You learn that softening your voice and connecting your words creates a friendly atmosphere. This brings us to the concept of shadowing. Shadowing is a powerful technique that bridges the gap between listening and speaking. It involves listening to a short clip of audio and repeating it exactly as you hear it, almost at the same time as the speaker. You are like a shadow, following the speaker's voice. When you do this, do not look at the text. Use your ears only. Try to copy the speaker's speed, their pauses, their emotion, and their accent. It might feel silly at first, like you are acting, but that is exactly what you are doing. You are acting out the role of an English speaker. This forces your mouth to move in new ways. It builds muscle memory. Just like an athlete trains their muscles to run faster, you are training your mouth muscles to produce English sounds. And because you are mimicking a native or fluent speaker, you are practicing correct grammar and vocabulary automatically. Let's talk about another character. Let's call her Elena. Elena loved watching movies in English, but she always used subtitles in her native language. She realized that she was just reading, not listening. Her brain was lazy. It took the easy path of reading the translation. So, Elena made a brave decision. She turned the subtitles off. At first, it was terrifying. She felt like she missed half the movie, but she stuck with it. She started watching simpler shows, sitcoms with repetitive storylines. She realized that even if she didn't catch every word, she understood the plot through the actor's emotions and the context. Over time, her hearing sharpened. She began to separate the stream of noise into distinct words. She started to hear the slang, the jokes, the cultural references. Her listening comprehension skyrocketed, and naturally, her speaking improved. She found herself using phrases from the TV shows in her daily life. She sounded more natural, more relaxed. Elena proved that immersing yourself in the sound of the language, without the crutch of translation, forces your brain to adapt and learn. Consistency is more important than intensity. It is better to listen for 15 minutes every day than for 5 hours once a week. Your brain needs constant exposure to reinforce the neural pathways. Think of it like watering a plant. You cannot dump a bucket of water on a plant once a month and expect it to survive. It needs a little bit of water every day. Language is the same. Make listening a part of your daily routine. Listen while you commute to work, while you exercise, while you cook dinner. But try to set aside at least 10 minutes a day for that active, focused listening we talked about. Sit down with a notebook. Close your eyes. Focus entirely on the sounds. This small daily habit will compound over time into massive results. One specific thing you should listen for is the use of filler words and hesitation markers. These are sounds like, well, actually. In traditional schools, teachers often tell you to avoid these. But in real life, native speakers use them all the time. They use them to buy time while they think, to soften a statement, or to signal that they are not finished speaking. If you want to sound fluent, you should listen to how these are used. Using a well-placed well, or actually can make your English sound much more sophisticated and natural than silence. When you listen to interviews, pay attention to how the guest answers a difficult question. They rarely start with the answer immediately. They usually say something like, "That's a good question. Well, I think." Listening for these little bridges will help you manage your own conversations when you need time to think. Let's dig a little deeper into the emotional connection of listening. When you listen to someone speaking English, try to empathize with them. Try to feel what they are feeling. Are they excited? Are they sad? Are they sarcastic? Connecting the language to emotion helps your memory. We remember things that make us feel something. If you listen to a boring textbook audio about the geography of a fictional country, your brain will likely discard that information. But if you listen to a passionate story about someone overcoming a challenge, or a funny story about a travel mistake, your brain will hold on to it. The vocabulary used in those stories will stick because it is attached to an emotion. That is why storytelling is such a powerful tool for learning. At English in Fluency, we try to weave stories into everything we do because we know that is how the human brain loves to learn. You might face a plateau in your listening journey. This is a period where you feel like you are not improving. You understand the basics, but the fast, slang-filled speech of native speakers still feels out of reach. Do not get discouraged. This is a normal part of the process. It is a sign that your brain is consolidating what it has learned. During these times, vary your input. If you usually listen to news, try listening to a comedy show. If you usually listen to one accent, try listening to a different one. English is a global language with many beautiful varieties. Exposing yourself to Australian, British, American, Irish, and South African accents will make your ears more flexible. It trains you to focus on the core sounds of the language rather than getting stuck on a specific pronunciation. Another great technique is to listen to the same content at different speeds. Many podcast players and video platforms allow you to change the playback speed. If you are struggling with a difficult section, slow it down to 0.75 speed. Listen to every sound clearly. Then, put it back to normal speed. Once you are comfortable, try speeding it up to 1.25. This is like resistance training for your ears. If you can understand it at a fast speed, regular speed will feel slow and easy. It gives you more processing time in real conversations. It's a fun challenge that can really boost your confidence. I want to remind you that listening is an act of patience. In our modern world, we want everything instantly. We want to speak fluently tomorrow. But language growth is biological. It grows like a tree, not like a building. You cannot rush it. You have to nurture it. Be kind to yourself. Celebrate the small victories. Did you understand a joke in a movie today? That is a victory. Did you catch a word you learned yesterday in a new song? That is a victory. These small moments add up. The fact that you are here, listening to this long-form content in English, proves that you are already on the right path. You are doing the work. You are watering the tree. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to become a hunter of sounds. From this day forward, when you listen to English, don't just let the words wash over you. Hunt for the patterns. Hunt for the melody. Be curious about why a sentence was said in a particular way. Treat every podcast, every movie, every conversation as a free lesson in fluency. You have all the tools you need. You have access to the internet, which is the greatest library of audio in human history. The only thing missing is your focused attention. I have a small challenge for you for the next week. I want you to pick one short audio clip, maybe 30 seconds long. It could be from a movie, a news report, or even a part of this session. I want you to listen to that 30 seconds every day for 7 days. By the end of the week, I want you to know it by heart. I want you to be able to say it with the exact same rhythm and emotion as the original speaker. Record yourself on day 1 and record yourself on day 7. Compare the two. You will be amazed at the difference. This simple exercise will prove to you that your ears are the gateway to your voice. And as we continue this deep dive into the art of listening, we need to address the invisible barriers that stop you from understanding, and specifically, the trap of translation. Many of you are doing something that is exhausting your brain and slowing down your speaking, and you might not even realize you are doing it. You are acting as a translator, not a speaker. Let's visualize this for a moment. Imagine your brain is a computer. When someone speaks to you in English, the sound enters your ears. If you are translating, your brain takes that English sound, searches for the equivalent word in your native language, arranges the sentence in your native grammar, understands the meaning, thinks of a response in your native language, translates that response back into English, and finally sends it to your mouth. That is a 6-step process. It is heavy. It is slow. It takes a lot of energy. This is why you feel tired after speaking English for only 10 minutes. This is why you stutter. Your brain is overheating because it is doing too much work. We need to cut out the middleman. We need to go directly from English sound to meaning, and from meaning to English sound. But how do we stop translating? It feels automatic. The answer lies again in how you listen. When you listen to English, try to visualize the concept instead of the word. If you hear the word apple, do not think of the word for apple in your language. Picture a red, shiny fruit in your mind. If you hear the word run, picture someone moving fast. You want to link the English sound directly to the image or the feeling. This takes practice. A great way to do this is to listen to very simple stories. Stories that are almost too easy for you. When the language is simple, you don't need to rely on translation to understand. You can just let the story play out like a movie in your mind. By spending time in this easy zone, you train your brain to bypass the translation step. You are building a direct highway between the English language and your thoughts. Let's introduce another student of mine to illustrate a different challenge. His name was Liam. Liam was a master of vocabulary. If you gave him a written test, he would score 100%. He knew words like inevitable, cacophony, and quintessential. But Liam had a secret struggle. He could not watch American movies without subtitles. He told me that native speakers spoke too fast. He said they swallowed their words. He felt like he had studied a different language than the one they were speaking. Liam's problem was that he had learned English as a series of isolated bricks. He thought every word stood alone. But in reality, English is like a river. The water flows and mixes together. We call this connected speech. This is the secret code of native speakers. We do not pronounce every letter. We connect the end of one word to the beginning of the next. We change sounds to make them easier to say. For example, look at the phrase, "What are you doing?" In a textbook, it is 4 clear words, but in a casual conversation, a native speaker will say, "What you doin'?" The T and the Y sound mixed together to make a ch sound. The G at the end disappears. If Liam is listening for "What are you doing?" he will never hear it. He will hear "whatcha," and his brain will panic because "whatcha" is not in his dictionary. This is why listening practice must focus on these reductions. You need to train your ear to hear these compressed sounds. Let's practice this right now. I want you to listen to a common reduction. The phrase is "going to." In formal writing, it is "going to." In spoken English, it almost always becomes "gonna." I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna sleep. It is not lazy English, it is efficient English. It allows us to get to the main verb faster. Another one is "want to." It becomes "wanna." I wanna go. Listen to the difference in rhythm. I want to go is staccato. It is choppy. I wanna go is smooth. It flows. When you start to use these reductions in your own speaking, you will instantly sound more fluent. But more importantly, when you accept that these reductions are standard, your listening comprehension will improve dramatically because you will stop looking for words that aren't there. This brings us to the importance of using transcripts wisely. Many students ask me, "Alex, should I use subtitles? Should I read the transcript while I listen?" The answer is yes, but you must be careful. If you read and listen at the same time, you are mostly reading. Your eyes are stronger than your ears. Your brain will ignore the sound and focus on the text. You need to use the sandwich method. Step 1. Listen without the text. Just listen. Try to catch the main idea. Accept that you might not understand everything. Step 2. Read the transcript. Look up the new words. Look at how the sentences are built. Now, connect what you see to what you heard. Oh, that sound was actually 3 words blended together. This is the moment of discovery. Step 3. Listen again without the text. Now, because you had studied the map, you will hear the details clearly. You will hear the words you missed the first time. This third step is where the magic happens. You are calibrating your ears to the reality of the sound. Let's talk about the emotional safety of understanding. One of the biggest reasons we freeze when speaking is fear. We are afraid we didn't understand the question correctly. We are afraid we will look foolish. This fear creates a mental block. When you improve your listening, you are building a safety net. When you are confident that you can understand what the other person is saying, your anxiety levels drop. When your anxiety drops, your brain works better. You can access your vocabulary faster. You can think clearer. So, listening practice is actually confidence training. It is the foundation of your psychological safety in the language. Think about a conversation you had recently in your native language. Did you listen to every single word the other person said? Probably not. You listened to the key words, and you watched their body language. You predicted what they were going to say next. This is called predictive listening. In English, you can do the same. If someone says, "I went to the restaurant and ordered a cool," your brain should already be predicting words like steak, salad, or drink. You don't expect them to say elephant or shoe. Context is your best friend. When you listen, don't get stuck on one word you don't know. Keep moving. Use the context to guess the meaning. If you stop to worry about one missing word, you will miss the next 3 sentences. Flow is more important than perfection. I want to address the topic of accents. English is a beautiful, messy, global language. There is no single correct accent. A British person sounds different from an American, who sounds different from an Australian, who sounds different from a Singaporean. Many learners get used to only one type of accent, usually the one from their teacher or their textbook. Then, they meet someone from a different region, and they feel lost. To be truly fluent, you need to be adaptable. You need to expose your ears to variety. In your listening routine, try to find content from different parts of the world. Listen to a BBC News report one day and a Hollywood podcast the next. This flexibility will make you a global citizen. It will teach you to focus on the core sounds of the language rather than getting stuck on a specific pronunciation. Let's do another visualization exercise. I want you to close your eyes again. Imagine you are sitting in a busy park in New York City. There are people walking by, dogs barking, cars honking in the distance. 2 friends are sitting on a bench near you. You want to eavesdrop on their conversation. You have to tune out the background noise and tune in to their voices. This ability to focus, to isolate the sound you want to hear, is a muscle. In a noisy world, active listening requires intense focus. It is a form of meditation. When you are listening to English, be present. Do not let your mind wander to your grocery list or your work problems. Give the language your full respect. When you give it your attention, it will give you its secrets. We also need to talk about the silence. Listening is not just about processing sound. It is about being comfortable with silence. In many cultures, silence is awkward. We feel the need to fill it immediately. But in English conversation, a short pause is normal. It shows you are thinking. It shows you are digesting what was said. Don't rush to speak the moment the other person stops. Take a breath. Let the echo of their words settle in your mind. This pause gives you a fraction of a second to formulate your thought without the pressure of translation. Master the pause, and you will master the conversation. Now, I want to give you a specific technique for dealing with fast English. It is called the slow-down technique, but we do it mentally. When you hear a fast sentence, try to replay it in your head immediately, but slower. It is like an instant replay in sports. You hear, "What you gonna do about it?" Fast. Your brain records the sound. Then, in the split second of silence, you replay it. What are you going to do about it? This mental echo helps you decode the meaning. It takes practice, but eventually your brain gets faster at decoding, and you won't need to slow it down anymore. You will just understand. I often hear students say, "Alex, I have no one to speak with, so I can't practice." But you always have someone to listen to. You have the voices in your headphones. You can create an immersion environment right in your bedroom. Immersion does not mean living in an English-speaking country. I know people who have lived in the UK for 20 years and still struggle with English because they live in a bubble of their native language. And I know people who have never left their home country but speak beautifully because they have surrounded themselves with English sounds. They wake up to English radio. They work out to English music. They cook with English YouTube videos. They fall asleep to English audiobooks. They have built a virtual English world. You can do this too. It is a choice. It is a lifestyle change. Let's return to the idea of enjoyment. If you treat listening like a chore, like washing the dishes, you will resent it. You will find excuses not to do it. You must find the joy in it. Find content that makes you laugh, that makes you cry, that makes you think. If you love cooking, listen to cooking shows. If you love football, listen to match commentary. Do not force yourself to listen to business news if you hate business. When you are interested in the topic, your brain releases dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that helps with memory and learning. When you are having fun, you are learning faster. It is biological fact. So, follow your curiosity. Let your interests guide your listening journey. There is a concept in language learning called the silent period. When you first start learning, or when you are leveling up to a new stage, there might be a time when you don't feel like speaking. You just want to absorb. This is natural. Do not force yourself to speak if you are not ready. Respect the silent period. Use it to fill up your tank. The more you listen now, the richer your speaking will be later. Think of a sponge. A dry sponge cannot release water. You have to soak it, and soak it, and soak it. Only when it is saturated can you squeeze it and get water out. Listening saturates your brain. Speaking is simply squeezing the sponge. If nothing is coming out when you try to speak, it is because your sponge is dry. Go back to the water. Go back to the listening. I want to challenge you on the quality of your focus. Multitasking is a myth. You cannot truly focus on two things at once. Yes, you can listen while you wash dishes, and that is better than nothing. But the real growth happens when you do monotasking, just listening, sitting in a chair, staring at the wall or closing your eyes, and doing nothing but processing the language. Try this for just 5 minutes a day. It is intense, it is tiring, but it is incredibly powerful. You will notice things you never noticed before. You will hear the breath of the speaker. You will hear the tiny sounds at the ends of words. This is high-definition listening. As we continue to explore this vast topic, remember that your ears are resilient. They will adapt. You might feel deaf to English today, but I promise you, if you persist, the fog will lift. One day, you will turn on a movie, and you will realize you haven't looked at the subtitles for 10 minutes. You will realize you are laughing at a joke before you have even translated it. That moment is pure magic. It is the moment you realize you are no longer a student of English. You are a user of English. You are living in the language. I also want you to find a song in English that you like. Not a fast rap song, maybe a pop ballad, or a folk song where the vocals are clear. I want you to listen to it with the lyrics in front of you. Sing along. Mimic the singer. Singers exaggerate sounds. They stretch vowels. They clearly define the rhythm. Singing is a fantastic bridge to speaking because it forces you to follow the tempo. You cannot slow down a song to translate. You have to keep up. It forces you into the flow. Do this with one song this week. Master that one song. It will do wonders for your pronunciation and your fluency. Once you have started listening to the music of the language, it is time to become a collector of it. We are going to move from understanding English to owning English. We are going to talk about how to take what you hear and turn it into what you say. This is the bridge where the passive becomes active. If you have ever felt like you understand everything but have nothing to say, we are going to solve that problem. We are going to turn you into a linguistic thief, but in the best possible way. Let's start with a concept I call the magpie method. A magpie is a bird that is famous for collecting shiny objects. It flies around, sees something sparkling, and takes it back to its nest. I want you to be a magpie for English phrases. One of the biggest mistakes learners make is trying to invent English. You try to build sentences word by word, using logic and grammar rules. But native speakers don't invent. We recycle. We use the same chunks, the same phrases, and the same expressions over and over again. Your job, when you are listening, is to spot these shiny phrases and steal them for your own nest. Let me introduce you to a student named Sophia. Sophia was a brilliant engineer. She had a massive vocabulary of technical words. She could describe a complex machine perfectly. But when she had to make small talk at lunch, she sounded like a textbook. She would say sentences like, "I am experiencing hunger now." It was grammatically correct, but it sounded strange. It created a distance between her and her colleagues. I told Sophia to stop studying lists and start hunting for social glue phrases in her listening. She started watching a popular workplace comedy series. She noticed that when people were hungry, they didn't say, "I am experiencing hunger." They said, "I'm starving," or "I could eat a horse," or "Let's grab a bite." Sophia wrote these down. She didn't analyze the grammar of "could eat a horse." She just accepted it as a shiny object. The next time she was at lunch, she took a deep breath and said, "I'm starving. Let's grab a bite." Her colleagues smiled. The conversation flowed. She had used a pre-made chunk of language that signaled she was part of the group. This is the power of stealing. When you listen to a podcast or a movie, keep a notebook ready. Do not write down individual words like grab or bite. Write down the whole chunk. Let's grab a bite. Memorize the chunk as if it were a single long word. When you speak, you will just plug that chunk into your sentence. It is faster, it is easier, and it is perfectly natural. Now, let's talk about the structure of stories. Human beings are wired for stories. We do not remember lists of facts. We remember narratives. When you are speaking, you are usually telling a story about your weekend, your job, or your opinion. Many learners struggle here because they don't know how to organize their thoughts in English. They ramble. They say, "And then I went. And then he said. And then we go." It becomes boring for the listener. The solution is, Once again, listening. But this time, I want you to listen for the architecture, the skeleton of the story. Pay attention to the signposts. These are the words that tell you where the story is going. Words like suddenly, however, in the end, to make a long story short, believe it or not. These are the traffic lights of conversation. When you listen to an interview, notice how the guest moves from one idea to another. They might say, "That's a funny story, actually." This signals a shift. Or they might say, "The bottom line is," this signals the conclusion. By listening for these signposts, you learn how to package your own speech. You learn that a good answer has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Let's think about a guy named Tariq. Tariq loved to talk, but he often lost his listeners. He would jump from one topic to another without warning. I gave him a homework assignment: listen to stand-up comedians. Comedians are the masters of economy. Every word counts. They have to set up a situation, introduce a conflict, and deliver a punchline, all in 30 seconds. Tariq started listening not for the jokes, but for the structure. He noticed how they used pauses. He noticed how they used phrases like, "So, there I was," to start a scene. He started using "so, there I was," to start his own stories about his work. It instantly gave his speech a frame. People started listening to him more because he sounded organized. He wasn't just throwing words, he was delivering a narrative. This brings us to a very important distinction: the difference between the boardroom and the barbecue. In linguistics, we call this register. It means the level of formality. English has a very wide range of registers. The English you use in a business meeting is not the English you use at a party with friends. If you mix them up, it can be awkward. If you use slang in a job interview, you might look unprofessional. If you use formal business English at a barbecue, you might seem cold or arrogant. Listening is the only way to really learn this nuance. Textbooks often teach a neutral, slightly formal English that is safe, but rarely used in real life. When you listen, ask yourself, who is talking? Where are they? What is their relationship? If you are watching a legal drama, you are listening to boardroom English. You will hear, "I propose," "we must consider." Furthermore, if you are watching a sitcom about friends living in an apartment, you are listening to barbecue English. You will hear, "I reckon," "No way," "You gotta be kidding me." Your goal is to build two separate wardrobes in your brain. One wardrobe is for suits and ties, your formal language. The other wardrobe is for t-shirts and jeans, your informal language. When you learn a new phrase, tag it. Is this for the boardroom or the barbecue? For example, "I require assistance" is boardroom. "Can you give me a hand?" is barbecue. "I apologize for the inconvenience" is boardroom. "My bad" is barbecue. By actively categorizing what you hear, you will always know which outfit to wear when you speak. You won't be the guy wearing a tuxedo to the beach. Let's try a listening experiment on tone. Tone is the emotion behind the words. In English, the same sentence can mean three completely different things depending on the tone. Let's take the phrase, "That's interesting." Scenario A. You tell me you just won $1 million. I say, "Wow, that's interesting." My voice goes up high. I am excited. Scenario B. You tell me a boring fact about types of dirt. I say, "Oh, that's interesting." My voice is flat and low. I am bored, but I am trying to be polite. Scenario C. You tell me a lie, and I know it is a lie. I say, "Really? That's interesting." My voice has a sharp, curving sound. I am being sarcastic. If you only read the words on a page, you miss all of this. You miss the human element. Active listening requires you to be a detective of emotion. Why did they say it like that? Was she actually happy? Or was she angry? Listen to the breath. Listen to the volume. This is micro-listening. It is listening for the invisible message. When you master this, you avoid misunderstandings. You realize that sometimes yes means maybe, and I'll think about it means no. I want to talk about a hurdle that many of you face, the intermediate plateau. This is the B1/B2 trap. You are good enough to survive. You can order food, you can check into a hotel, you can have a basic chat, but you feel stuck. You are not getting better. You listen to the news and you understand the main idea, but you miss the details. This is a dangerous time because it is easy to get comfortable and stop trying. To break out of the plateau, you need to change your input. You need to make it harder. If you always listen to podcasts for learners, like this one, try listening to a podcast for native speakers on a topic you know well. If you are a nurse, listen to a medical podcast for American doctors. You already know the context, you know the medical Latin words, so you have a head start. But the speed and the slang will be challenging. This is narrow listening. You focus on one specific topic deeply. By limiting the topic, you see the same vocabulary repeated again and again in natural contexts. This repetition is what pushes you from B1 to B2. You master one domain, then you move to the next. Let's revisit the echo technique, but with a twist. We talked about shadowing, which is simultaneous. Now I want to talk about pre-echoing, or mental rehearsal. This is for when you are listening to a conversation, perhaps in a movie, or a real-life setting where you are just an observer. As you listen to person A ask a question, pause the audio, or your mind, and quickly imagine what you would answer. Then, listen to what person B actually answers. Compare the two. Person A asks, "What are you up to this weekend?" You think, "I will go to the cinema." Person B says, "I was thinking of catching a movie." Aha! You spot the difference. You were grammatically correct, but person B used a more natural phrase. Catching a movie and thinking of. This gap analysis is powerful. You are constantly testing your own internal English against the external reality. You are correcting your own software in real time. I want to address a question I get often. Alex, should I listen to non-native speakers? The answer is absolutely yes. English is the world's language. There are more non-native speakers than native speakers. You will likely speak to Germans, Chinese, Brazilians, and Nigerians more often than you speak to British or American people. Each of these groups has a unique way of speaking English. A B1 listener should be able to understand standard American or British English. A fluency master can understand English through a French accent or a Japanese accent. Listening to other non-native speakers is actually excellent training. It forces you to rely on the core sounds and the context rather than the specific music of a native accent. It also boosts your confidence. When you hear a Spanish speaker communicating effectively in English despite having a strong accent and making some grammar mistakes, it liberates you. You realize that perfection is not the goal. Communication is the goal. So, do not turn off a video just because the speaker has an accent. That is a valid, real-world variety of English that you need to be ready for. Let's talk about the physical environment of listening. We often listen with headphones, which deliver the sound directly into our brains. This is great for detail. But real life doesn't happen in headphones. Real life has reverb, echo, wind, and background chatter. I want you to practice ambient listening. Play a podcast on your phone speakers and put the phone across the room. Turn on a fan or open the window. Now try to listen while you are doing something else. This forces your brain to work harder to filter the signal from the noise. It mimics the difficult conditions of a noisy bar or a busy office. If you only train in a silent room with expensive noise-canceling headphones, you will be shocked when you step into the real, noisy world. Train hard so the game feels easy. I want to leave you with a thought about identity. When you start listening and mimicking well, you might feel like you are losing yourself. You might feel like you are faking it. You might think, that doesn't sound like me. That sounds like an American actor. This is a good sign. It means you are stepping out of your comfort zone. You are trying on a new persona. Language is performance. When you speak English, you are a slightly different version of yourself. You might be a bit louder, or a bit more direct, or a bit more polite, depending on the culture of the language. Embrace this. Don't fight it. Let the listening shape this new English-speaking version of you. It doesn't mean you are losing your identity. It means you are expanding it. You are becoming a person who can navigate two worlds. Now that you have the mindset of a hunter and the identity of a chameleon, we need to build the daily habit that supports it. We are going to leave the theory behind and walk into the gym. I am going to give you the workout plan. Many students ask me, Alex, what should I actually do when I wake up? Today, I am going to answer that. We are going to build a daily routine that fits into your busy life, and we are going to discuss how to handle those scary moments when your listening fails you. Let's start with the concept of the audio diet. Just like your body becomes what you eat, your English becomes what you listen to. If you only eat candy, you will be sick. If you only listen to textbook English, your speaking will be stiff and unnatural. You need a balanced diet. Here is a blueprint for a daily routine that I recommend to my private coaching students. It doesn't require extra time. It requires a shift in how you use your existing time. It begins in the morning. Your brain is fresh. This is the time for information listening. While you are making coffee, brushing your teeth, or getting dressed, put on a 5-minute news bulletin or a weather report in English. You don't need to sit down and take notes. You just need to wake up your English ears. The goal here is to get used to the speed of information. News anchors speak clearly, but they speak fast. They use standard vocabulary. This is your warm-up. It signals to your brain that English mode is now on. You are not analyzing deep emotions here. You are just catching facts. What is the temperature? What happened in the world? If you catch 3 facts, you have won the morning. Next is your commute. This is the golden hour. Whether you drive, take the bus, or walk, this is dead time that you can resurrect with English. This is where you do your extensive listening. Choose a podcast or an audiobook that lasts for 20 or 30 minutes. The topic should be something you enjoy: history, science, storytelling, or true crime. The key here is flow. Do not stop. Do not rewind every time you miss a word. Let the audio wash over you. Your goal is to follow the thread of the narrative. If you lose focus for a minute, just jump back in. This trains your stamina. It teaches your brain to stay engaged with English for longer periods without getting exhausted. It is like jogging. You are building your cardiovascular endurance for language. Then comes the evening. This is where the real work happens. This is intensive listening. You only need 15 minutes for this. Sit down. No distractions. Take a short clip. Maybe 2 minutes of a TV show, a YouTube video, or a part of this script. Listen to it with the intent to dissect it. Use the techniques we discussed earlier. Shadow the speaker. Write down the new phrases. Analyze the pronunciation. Why did they stress that word? Why did they pause there? This is the weightlifting part of your workout. It is heavy, focused, and builds muscle. By combining these three types of listening, information in the morning, extensive in the day, and intensive at night, you create a 360-degree immersion environment without quitting your job or moving to London. I want to introduce you to the concept of the deep dive. In our culture of infinite scrolling, we are obsessed with newness. We watch a video once, laugh, and swipe to the next one. We never truly learn it. I want you to do the opposite. I want you to pick one piece of content, a speech, a scene from a movie, a monologue, and listen to it 50 times. Yes, 50. It sounds boring, but it is transformative. Let me tell you about a student named Kenji. Kenji was stuck. He felt his English was mushy. He couldn't articulate clearly. I told him to pick the famous "I Have a Dream" speech by Martin Luther King Jr., or a scene from his favorite movie, The Godfather. He chose a monologue from a movie. For 1 week, he listened to that 2-minute clip 10 times a day. By the 3rd day, he was annoyed. By the 5th day, he could hear the audio playing in his head even when it was off. By the 7th day, he could recite it perfectly, matching the actor's breathing, the actor's pauses, the actor's anger. And something amazing happened. The rhythm of that monologue started to leak into his daily English. He started using the sentence structures from the movie in his emails. Because he had deep processed that one clip, he owned the grammar within it forever. One piece of content mastered perfectly is worth 1,000 videos watched once. Let's talk about music again, but at a higher level. I want you to analyze the rhyme and rhythm. Songwriters are masters of phonetics. They know which words sound good together. When you listen to a song, look at the lyrics and see how they force the rhymes. Sometimes they change the pronunciation of a word slightly to make it fit the beat. This is advanced listening. It teaches you about the flexibility of vowel sounds. If you are brave, I suggest listening to hip-hop or rap. Now, I know what you are thinking. Alex, it's too fast, and the slang is too difficult. You are right, it is hard, but it is the ultimate training for rhythm. Rappers are percussive instruments. They use English as a drum. Listen to how they cram many syllables into one beat. Listen to how they link words. You don't need to speak like a rapper in your business meetings, but if you can train your ear to track the lyrics of a rap song, a normal conversation will feel like it is happening in slow motion. It is like training with heavy weights so that normal life feels light. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. The panic. We have all been there. You are speaking to a native speaker. They are looking at you. They say something, and you have absolutely no idea what they said. It is just noise. Your heart starts beating fast. Your palms get sweaty. You smile and nod, praying it was not a question. This is the crash. The first thing you need to do is breathe. The panic shuts down your language center. If you panic, you definitely won't understand the second sentence. You need to stay calm. You need a toolkit of repair strategies. You cannot just say, "What? It is a bit rude and aggressive." You need phrases that buy you time and show you are trying. I want you to memorize 3 levels of clarification. The first level is the soft ask, where you might say, "Sorry, I didn't quite catch that." This is polite, casual, and perfect for almost any situation because it implies that you heard them, but the sound didn't land. The second level is the specific check, where you ask something like, "Did you say you are going on Tuesday or Thursday?" This shows you understood some of it, but you need to clarify a detail. People love this because it proves you were listening. The third level is the total reset. This is for when you are completely lost and you say, "I'm sorry, I'm a bit lost. Could you run that by me again?" This is honest. You are admitting you lost the thread. Native speakers do this to each other all the time. It is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of engagement. There is a psychological trick here. When you ask someone to repeat themselves, do not look terrified. Look curious. If you look terrified, the other speaker will feel bad, and the conversation will become awkward. If you look curious, like you really want to know what they said, they will be happy to repeat it, usually slower and with simpler words. You are managing the other person's reaction with your body language. Let's talk about keyword spotting in difficult situations. Sometimes the audio quality is bad, or the accent is very strong, and you simply cannot hear every word. Stop trying to hear every word. Shift gears into keyword spotting. Scan the sound wave for nouns and verbs. Meeting, tomorrow, cancel, lunch. Okay, you have the message. The meeting tomorrow is canceled. Let's have lunch. You missed the prepositions, the articles, and the adjectives. It doesn't matter. You survived the interaction. In the real world, functional understanding is more important than perfect transcription. Do not let your perfectionism paralyze you. I also want to discuss the role of cultural literacy in listening. Sometimes you hear every word perfectly, but you still don't understand the meaning. This is usually because of a cultural reference. If someone says, "He pulled a Homer Simpson," and you don't know who Homer Simpson is, the sentence means nothing. If someone says, "It's a catch-22," and you don't know that book, you are lost. This is the hardest part of listening because it requires general knowledge, not just English knowledge. The only way to solve this is curiosity. When you hear a name or a phrase that seems to be a reference, write it down and Google it later. What does catch-22 mean? Who is Homer Simpson? Slowly, over years, you build a cultural encyclopedia in your head. Do not get frustrated by this. Even native speakers miss references from different generations. A teenager might not understand a reference to a movie from the 1970s. It is a normal part of communication. Just ask. Saying, "I'm sorry, I don't know that reference," is a great conversation starter. It gives the other person a chance to explain something they know, which people love to do. We are nearing the end of our boot camp, but I want to touch on listening to yourself. We often hate the sound of our own voice. When you record yourself, you might cringe. Do I really sound like that? Yes, you do. And you need to make friends with that voice. You need to listen to your own recordings objectively, like a scientist. Record yourself reading a paragraph. Then listen to it. Where did you hesitate? Which vowel sound was unclear? Was your intonation flat? This feedback loop is painful but incredibly fast. You are your own best teacher because you know what you wanted to sound like, and you can hear where you failed. Here is a specific drill for self-correction. Record yourself telling a short story about your best friend. Listen to it. Now, try to transcribe exactly what you said. You will see your grammar mistakes. My friend, he go to the store. You will write it down and think, wait, he goes. You know the grammar rule, but you didn't use it. Listening to your own errors helps you bridge the gap between your knowledge, what you know, and your performance, what you do. Before we move to the final phase, here is a small homework assignment. I want you to find a piece of audio that feels impossible. Find a video on a topic you know nothing about, maybe quantum physics, or advanced knitting, or a thick Scottish accent comedy sketch. Listen to it. Let yourself feel the confusion. Then apply the repair strategy. Say out loud to your empty room, "I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you run that by me again?" Then try to catch just 3 keywords. Electron, spin, up. Good. You survived. This exercise is to immunize you against the fear of not understanding. When you face the monster and survive, the monster becomes smaller. Having equipped yourself with these tools, we must now look at the horizon. We need to talk about the future and the phenomenon known as the click. Let's begin with a reality check about the timeline. We live in a world of false promises. You see advertisements that say, "Fluent in 30 days," or "Master English while you sleep." You and I both know that is a lie. Fluency is a biological process, like growing a forest. You cannot force a tree to grow faster by pulling on its branches. You can only water it, give it sunlight, and wait. I want you to make peace with the long game. There will be weeks where you feel like you are moving backward. There will be days when your brain feels like fog. This is not failure. This is nature. The bamboo tree spends 5 years growing its roots underground before it breaks the surface. For 5 years, you see nothing. Then, in 6 weeks, it grows 90 feet tall. Right now, with all this listening practice, you are growing your roots. You are building the neural networks deep inside your brain. Do not judge your progress by what you see today. Trust the roots you are building for tomorrow. I want to describe a moment that is coming for you. I call it the click. It is a magical, quiet moment. One day, you will be listening to a podcast or watching a movie. You will be laughing at a joke or getting angry at a character. And suddenly, you will realize that you are not translating. You are not thinking about grammar. You are not trying to understand. The meaning is just appearing in your mind, pure and instant. It feels like the wall between you and the language has dissolved. You are just there. It is a feeling of immense lightness. The heavy weight of processing is gone. This moment does not happen with a fanfare. It happens when you stop forcing it. It happens when your brain finally trusts the patterns you have been feeding it. Keep listening, because the click is waiting for you down the road, and it is the best feeling in the world. To reach that moment, we need to shift your identity. Stop saying, "I am an English student." A student is someone who studies a subject from the outside. Start saying, "I am an English speaker." A speaker is someone who uses the language to live. This is a subtle but powerful shift. When you are a student, you study English. When you are a speaker, You live in English. You change your phone settings to English. You write your grocery list in English. You talk to your cat in English. You consume your news in English. You stop treating English as a subject, like math or history, and you start treating it as a medium, like air or water. It is just the environment you exist in. When you make this shift, you stop counting hours of study because your whole life becomes practice. Let's talk about the compound effect of listening. Albert Einstein called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. It applies to language, too. If you improve your listening by just 1% every day, you will not be 365% better at the end of the year. You will be 37 times better. The knowledge compounds. A word you learned in a song today helps you understand a sentence in a movie tomorrow, which helps you understand a conversation next week. The connections multiply. This is why consistency is the only rule that matters. 15 minutes every single day is infinitely more powerful than 5 hours once a week. Do not break the chain. Even on your worst day, even when you are sick, even when you are busy, listen to something for 5 minutes. Keep the momentum alive. I want to address the fear of losing it. Many students worry that if they take a break, they will forget everything. The beautiful truth about deep listening practice is that it is sticky. When you memorize a word list for a test, you forget it in a week. But when you acquire language through listening, it stores in a different part of your brain. The same part that stores how to ride a bicycle or how to drive a car. You might get a little rusty if you stop for a year, but you will never truly lose it. The rhythm, the melody, and the core patterns are burned into your subconscious. You are building a skill for life, not just for a test. You are investing in an asset that no one can ever take away from you. Now, I want to give you a warning about passive-aggressive perfectionism. This is when you refuse to speak or listen because you are afraid of making a mistake. You want to wait until you are ready. Let me tell you a secret. You will never feel ready. Native speakers make mistakes. We stutter. We use the wrong word. We forget what we were saying. Fluency is not perfection. Fluency is the ability to keep going despite the mistakes. It is the ability to repair the conversation and move on. Do not let the demon of perfectionism silence you. Embrace the messiness. English is a tool for connection, not a performance art. If you connect with another human being, you have succeeded, even if your grammar was terrible. Let's talk about community. Listening can feel like a lonely activity. You are alone with your headphones. But ultimately, language is about people. I encourage you to find your tribe. The internet has made this easier than ever. Find a Discord server about your favorite video game where people speak English. Join a Facebook group for English learners. Leave comments on YouTube videos, like this one. Engage with the world. When you realize that there are millions of other people on the same journey, struggling with the same phrasal verbs, laughing at the same pronunciation difficulties, you feel supported. You are part of a global movement of people trying to understand each other. That is a beautiful thing. We also need to talk about input maintenance. Once you reach a high level, once you feel fluent, you cannot just stop. If you stop watering the plant, it will eventually wither. But the good news is that maintenance is easy and fun. You don't need to do drills anymore. You just need to enjoy content. Watch your favorite series on Netflix. Listen to interesting podcasts. Read books. As long as you are consuming content that you love, your English will stay sharp. You will reach a point where you don't even realize you are practicing. You are just enjoying a story, and the English practice is a free bonus. That is the ultimate goal: effortless maintenance. I want to revisit the concept of trust. You have to trust your brain. The human brain is the most complex pattern recognition machine in the universe. It evolved over millions of years to learn language. It wants to learn. You do not need to force it. You just need to feed it. If you feed it high-quality, comprehensible input, it will do the rest. It will sort the grammar. It will organize the vocabulary. It will fine-tune the pronunciation. Your conscious mind, the part of you that worries and stresses, needs to step back and let your subconscious mind do the heavy lifting. Relax. Breathe. Listen. Trust the process. Now, we have arrived at the moment of action. I am going to give you the 30-day immersion challenge. This is not for the faint of heart. This is for those of you who want to see a massive shift in 1 month. Here are the rules. Rule number 1 is no native language media for 30 days. That means no movies, no music, no books in your home language. If you want entertainment, it must be in English. Rule number 2 is the 10-page rule. You must read 10 pages of an English book or article every day. Rule number 3 is the 30-minute ear. You must listen to active English audio for 30 minutes every day. Focused, with no distractions. Rule number 4 is the daily shadow. You must shadow a speaker for 5 minutes every day. And finally, rule number 5 is the daily journal. You must write 100 words in a journal every night, summarizing your day in English. If you do this for 30 days, I guarantee you will not recognize your own English at the end of the month. It will be hard. Your brain will resist. You will get tired. But if you push through the resistance, you will break through your plateau. You will flood your brain with so much data that it has no choice but to adapt. You will dream in English. You will wake up thinking in English. This is the boot camp that changes everything. Are you brave enough to try it? If you are, write, "I accept the challenge" in the comments below right now. Make a public commitment. Tell the world you are ready. As we close this comprehensive masterclass, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your trust. I know how precious your time is. I know how frustrating learning a language can be. I have been there. But I also know the freedom that awaits you. I know the joy of traveling to a new country and making a friend. I know the pride of understanding a movie without subtitles. I know the power of reading a book in its original language. This world is waiting for you. The doors are open. All you have to do is walk through them, one listening session at a time. Please, do not let this be just another video you watched. Do not let this be information that goes in one ear and out the other. Take action. Pick one technique we talked about: the shadowing, the magpie method, the audio diet, and start it today, not tomorrow. Today. Your future self is begging you to start. If this series has helped you, if it has given you hope or clarity, please subscribe to English in Fluency. Join our community. Share this video with a friend who is struggling. Give it a like so that the algorithm shows it to more people who need help. And please, leave a comment. Tell me your story. Tell me about your click moment when it happens. I read every single comment, and I am cheering for you from the other side of the screen. You are capable of more than you know. You are building a bridge to the world. Keep listening. Keep speaking. Keep believing. I am Alex, and this has been English in Fluency. The class is dismissed, but your journey is just beginning. Go out there and be amazing. Goodbye for now, and happy listening.